Hear you? Can I hear you?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Gunjan Mataji is there. Fine. So this is Simhachalam
Ji.
course. And okay, so we are going to talk about today, Sid Prabhu, as you told, we are going to talk about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, right? And wonderful. I'm very, very delighted to meet all of you, right? To see all of you, to meet all of you. And so we'll go and start about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. How much you know? Can we have some points and we'll have a quick discussion after? I mean, just have before moving. Do you know about how many of you don't know at all about Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Today is what? Appearance day of Bhaktivinoda Thakur or disappearance of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Do we have appearance or disappearance?
Appearance day.
Appearance of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Why do we celebrate appearance of our great teachers? Why do we
Um,
celebrate?
like because they appeared in this material world, that's why we are like in Krishna
Yeah, they
consciousness right
appear in
now.
this material world, but you will see that we do not celebrate everyone's, but we celebrate definitely our Acharya's appearance day. Why? Is there any significance? And that too, we celebrate very gorgeously. Lot of elaborate, there is a feast in the temple and there feast in the houses, and there is prayer, there is fasting. Why all that? Have you thought about it? Yeah, Sid Prabhu? All right, we discuss something, right? See, acharyas. Let us start now. So acharyas, those who come, right? There are some people who are born. Some personalities, like myself, I'm born. But great personalities, they descend. They descend. Why they descend? They descend to benefit us. They descend to show us our path, the real aim of life. Right? That is why they descend. So let us understand today about Bhakti Vinod Thakur, a personality who looked, a kind of who looked to be externally sometimes, he looked to be very, very normal, like many of us, normal household person, not like Gautam Buddha, who just renounced everything and went to a forest. You see, Gautam Buddha just he saw three things and then he said, "Oh, done! I'm going to the forest now, going to tapasya." Not like that. And you see, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was like one of us. One of us. His looks like actually, he looks like when he started his life, it was just like he just normal college boy, intelligent person, intelligent student, intelligent person, intelligent, very intellectual from childhood itself. But then he was suffering from a lot of diseases sometimes, and then he was a struggle life, lots of ups and downs, which we see in normal person's life. You have gone through ups and downs, right? Prabhu, right? We go
Yes.
through ups and downs, sometimes good marks, sometimes not good marks, sometimes get selected for sports, sometimes not getting selected for sports or whatever source, right? So ups and downs. And when we see ups and downs, it looks like, oh, we looks like he's suffering. I also suffer. He enjoys, he's enjoying, I'm also enjoying. Or he may be intellectual, we are also intellectual. Externally, it looked his life was same, but it wasn't. So let's understand the highlights and life contribution of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a scholar, he was a preacher, he was a reformer, he was a publisher, he was a movement builder, he was pioneer for the West, he was discoverer, and he was a bhajan acharya. Now please understand, I said it a little fast, but we'll understand what it means. Scholar and preacher, why? Because he balanced Western logic and Gauriya Bhakti. Gauriya Bhakti sometimes it was not accessible. You see, many times Sanskrit, many people come and want to read Bhagavad Gita or read Srimad Bhagavatam or many scriptures like that, and when they hear the word Sanskrit is a my goodness, this is not cup of my milk, right? I can't say cup of tea, but they say it's not cup of my milk because it's not accessible to me. So likewise, according to time, place, circumstances, he was such an intellectual, he was such a brilliant person that he could balance the Western logics with Gauriya Bhakti, with the terminologies, with modern terminologies. He preached the science of Gauriya Bhakti. Gauriya Bhakti means a devotional service, a devotional teachings, a devotional philosophy. So he was able to teach that. First thing is that he was scholar, he was a preacher, and because of that combination of scholar and preacher, he could balance the Western logic and Gauriya Bhakti. That is the first thing. Please remember this. Second thing, he was a reformer. Why he was a reformer? Because his life was full with adventure. How many of you had? How many of you had gone through novels? How many of you love novels? Here, anyone? Love adventurous novel, Hardy Boys or Adventures of Tom Sawyer, something like that, right? Home Pros likes. So likewise, if you read there is a book called Seventh Goswami, and in that book, if you read that book, that is an biography of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Many details are still not there, but many details, most of the details have been mentioned. Now, there it is, if you read his life, it is such an adventurous life. He was a reformer. You know what is a reformer? Who will tell what is a reformer? Viren Prabhu, would you like to tell what is a reformer? Reform means who just reforms the society. When we see there are a lot of wrong things happening in the society, many things you see, many corruption is happening in the society, many violation is happening in the society, many wrong things are happening in the society. Needs a reform, and that is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a reformer. You understand the meaning of reformer now? So that is how, why he was a reformer, because he could remove Sahajism, casteism. Now, what is it by Sahajism? Sahajism means the people who dilute the path of devotional service. They would say chalta hai. Illicit relationship chalta hai. Everything they would say chalta hai. You know, some people say chalta hai. No problem. Eating meat chalta hai. Taking intoxication chalta hai. So this kind of things were happening. And say bhakti के नाम पे क्या हो रहा था? भक्ति के नाम पे बहुत कुछ उल्टा सीधा हो रहा था. And that is how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what he came, when he came, he reformed that. That is called reformer. Could you understand this? So therefore, this is said, the first, that is reformer. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the third thing, what he was a publisher. Oh my God, 150 books he wrote, and maybe more than 150 books. And every book was class in itself. Jayavadharma. Have you heard about Jayavadharma? It's a classic novel with devotional teaching. Amazing. The combination is, we love to read novels. It has a very interesting stories. But the greatest expertise, his erudition was definitely great, but his scholarly expertise and his creative expertise both met together, and there was a book called Jaiva Dharma, which is combination of both creativity and philosophy coming together. So he made it into a novel at the same time, which made everyone would read. Anyone can read that with a lot of interest. That way, he presented the philosophy, a very high level philosophy, through Jaiva Dharma. So that's is one of the books. Then Harinam Chintamani, Sharanagati, Krishna Samhita, Navadip Mahatmya, and so many like that. So that was the greatness. That's how Bhaktivinoda Thakur was such a scholar, and he was such an erudite speaker. He was scholarly in way, he was scholarly in his teachings, scholarly in his presentation, and at the same time, he was also very much creative. He knew how to give the philosophy. He was a publisher, more than 150 books he published. Then he was a movement builder. Movement builder means that he understood how to expand Krishna consciousness. And that is why he started a book, not a book, a magazine called as Sajjana Toshani. This magazine was supposed to reach many people. So that's what book called Sajjana Toshani. And then he also had Namhatta Network. Namhatta Network means small centers. He made small, because like many of us cannot come to temple, right? We know that we live different parts, we live in different parts of the world, different parts of the place, and so it's very difficult for us to come connect together, isn't it? Yes, Viren Pro, you say agree, like it's not easy for us to come in together and all the time meet. So therefore what he did was he made Nam Hattas means just nearby, he just made a people congregate at a one particular place, and then there were many Namhatas like that. We probably had 500 Namhatas, and each Namhata, what is the strength of each Namhata? At least 1,000 to 2,000 people would congregate like that. So he just made this in just probably, I would say that within 2 years' time. So like that, he was a discoverer, he was and he was pioneer of the West also, because he was the one who sent books overseas in 1986. The first ever book of first ever Gauriya Vaishnava book which went to the West was in 1896, which we went there. So therefore, he's a bhajanachari, he's a discoverer, he's a pioneer, he's a movement builder, he's a publisher, he's a reformer, he's a scholar and the preacher. Right? This is what Bhakti Vinod Thakur was. Importantly, we understand from his life, we learn that we can live, a devotee can live in a household life, can be a government servant, can be a writer, can be a preacher, can be a reformer, a bhajanacharya, harmonizing everything in pure devotion service, right? Like many of us may be thinking that, oh, I cannot do big things when I'm doing bhakti. I cannot be what he was. He was a magistrate. Magistrate, you understand? Who's a magistrate? District magistrate. DM we call. So he was district magistrate in 18th or 17th century, I can say. 18th, sorry, not in sorry, 17th. He was in 18th century, what we say that he was a district magistrate of that era. So let's discuss more about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Most interesting thing, what is the most interesting? How many of you have problem getting up early in the morning? Getting up early in the morning, right? And then probably having an excuse that, oh, looks like, I can skip my chanting today morning. Or probably, uh, or probably not getting time, I just feel, oh, probably looks like there could be had been more than 24 hours, then I could have done much better bhakti, or probably I could have done much more. So let us look what was the timetable. Anyone would like to share the timetable? You can share the timetable later on because we have less time now. So let us understand what was Bhakti Vinod Thakur timetable, right? Let's understand that. Firstly, what was time of Bhakti Vinod Thakur? What time he slept? He slept at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. he would sleep and he would get up at 2, 8 p.m. sleep and get up at 10 p.m. 2 hours. Never do that, probably, right? Please note it down. You have not to do that at all. So he would sleep at 8 p.m. and don't imitate it. I'm just telling that. He would sleep at 10 p.m. and 8 p.m., sorry, and get up at 10 p.m. So what he would do after that? From 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., 6 hours, he would write and study. He used his oil lamp because those days we did not have that electricity so much, that we were not that advanced in terms of technology. So he was used electricity for, and he would use oil lamps. He would study, he would write 6 hours continuously. And at 4 a.m., he would take a nap of 30 minutes. So 4 a.m. to 4:30 a.m., he would sleep. He would take a rest. Well, not kind of sleep, but again take rest. And then 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m., around 2.5 hours, he would have his ablutions and then japa, other things he would do. 2 hours was enough to do japa. His 60 rounds completed six number of rounds. And then 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., that's 30 minutes, he would meet people, correspondence. I just understand that he was a district magistrate. So therefore, many people would come to meet. So he would just do correspondence. And after doing that 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., 2 hours, he would study scriptures and then also receive visitors during that time. At 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., 30 minutes, he would take his morning prasadam, which was bathing again, and then taking morning prasadam, which was half a liter of milk, about, and fruit, and just two chapatis. That's it. So that would be his morning breakfast. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., he would do court duties. Court duties mean because he was magistrate, he would have to take decisions. And generally, any kind of case, many complex cases would come. And the cases which people would take around 2 hours, 1.5 hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours for the whole day, sometimes people would take, he would just solve that within 5 minutes. 5 minutes it would take. He was such a brilliant person. He would just take 5 minutes to solve a case. 5 minutes he will solve the case, 2 minutes he will write the sentence, and that's it. 7 minutes, one case solved. And seeing his caliber, so many people were envious, but they couldn't do anything about it. So that was his expertise. And then 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., refreshing at home. He come refresh at himself at home. And then 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., he would have to court duties. Court duties means he would again go to the court and do the duties. And again, 5 p.m. would come back home there with, and then 5 to 7, he would just translate scriptures into Sanskrit scriptures into Bengali and other things. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., 1 hour, evening bath, and again prasadam, half a liter milk again, rice and some chapatis. 8 p.m. he would rest. So that was the schedule of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, right? How many of you are going to follow it? Better don't. But one thing which we can learn is that we don't have to be lazy in whatever we are doing. See what Bhaktivinoda Thakur has taught us. We, of course, we have to take 6 hours of rest, not less than that, but not more than 8 hours. 6 to 8 hours sleeping we need to do, that we have to do, and proper diet. And important thing is that engaging yourself in something very, very important. Engaging yourself something very beneficial, not something which would take your energy out, something which gives you energy. That things we need to engage. So that's lesson for us. So let's now dive into the details of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life. Yes. Now externally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was just like common man. At that point, when he was probably till a certain age, no one could ever think that Bhaktivinoda Thakur would ever become such a big acharya who can influence so much, who can just create so much influence in others. Hmm. Externally, like Janak Maharaj. So Janak Maharaj, there are different. Janak Maharaj is one of our Mahajans. Mahajans means what great personalities. Swambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Kumaro, Kapilo, Munu. So there are 12 Mahajans mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, and Janak is said to be one. One day, in the courtiers, they were just talking, they were gossiping among themselves. And look at Janak. He is just like us. He also is worldly. We are also worldly. We are also running after money. He is also running after money. He's a king. And look at that. We also want control. He also wants control. And you look at that. He also have to. He's a pound shilling man. We are also pound shilling man. What is the difference between us and Janak, right? And they were thinking like that. Meanwhile, Janak Maharaj somehow or other came to know what they're talking about. And Janaka said, my dear ministers, tomorrow we shall meet. And he called all ministers and said, we shall be meeting tomorrow. Please come on time. Of course, they were very much interested and said, yes, Majesty, why not? And they were not completely aware that Majesty, I mean, Janaka knows it very thoroughly what they are talking about. They came and in the best of the suits because they said we are going to have because he informed them yesterday that tomorrow is going to be a big feast, so be come prepared. And they came prepared. The king must be very happy. That is why he wants to give us a big treat. So they came with their best of the clothes, best of the attire. They came in, and as they came in, they saw a big dining table, the royal dining table. Everything looks to be aromatic, and to the best of the cuisine was set on the table there. Best of the cuisine was set on the table. Best of the drinks was set on the table. It was a royal table. And they happily, in their best of the attire, sat on their chairs, the royal chairs. The servant was there to remove the chair. They sat on the chair. And to get amazed by only one thing, because when all the minister, when they sat down, they were amused to see that above them there was a sword dangling on a very small thread. Right. Can you understand this? Now, someone has called you to their home, they have invited you for the feast, and then say, come on, my best friend, and they're seated and they present you the best of the cuisine, and on your top they put a hard sword or dangling into a very thin thread. And when sword, a very heavy sword is dangled with a very thin thread, you know it can fall anytime, right? And king said, I want everything to finish on the plate. Now, before that, the best of the preparation is on the plate. Chappan bhog, more than chappan bhog is on the plate. And the king said, I want you to complete it. And until unless you complete that, you cannot get up. Only thing is that when you complete, then you can get up. This is my condition. And if you don't fulfill this condition, you will be beheaded. So people thought, anyways, we are going to get beheaded. So let us try our chance. Everyone ate, and everyone was eating. You can understand how they would be eating. Oh, yeah, you can just imagine how they would be eating. And everyone ate to the fastest speed. They just gobbled everything. And immediately they said, saved. Somehow the none of the sword fell. And then Janaka Maharaj says, yes, gentlemen, how was the experience? Experience? What are you talking about, Maharaj? Experience? What kind of experience you're talking about? He said, of course, how was the feast? The feast? We never thought about any feast. We were just thinking about that sword. So, my dear gentlemen, you were eating the best of the feast, right? He said, yes, yes, Majesty. But still, you were not thinking of the feast because everything, all the cuisine which you were eating was best in its own way. But you were not thinking about that. So, what went wrong? Because the sword was dangling, Majesty. The sword was dangling and it could fall anytime. Our whole attention was on the sword. So, my dear ministers, I too, me too, I can do everything. I can be a pound shilling man. I can just be a pound shilling man. I can just be, I can just do all worldly things. I can be a pound shilling man. I can be doing all worldly things. I can just do all royal things. But doing all the things, I can still be thinking of the Supreme Lord. Because why? Because I'm interested not in these things, I'm interested in Supreme Lord. Just like when you are eating, you are not thinking about eating, although the best of the preparation was on your table. You are only thinking about what? You are only thinking about one thing, and that was sword. Likewise, I may be involved in all different things, but I can still think about my Supreme Lord always because he is more concerned. He is the most concerned thing I'm thinking about. So, likewise, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life also demonstrates the same principles here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was an amazing personality. Externally, embracing British culture, writing mundane books. Yeah, initially he was writing mundane books. I would say he was like Arjun who get bewildered, or he was like so. There are different personalities, right? And externally, we cannot judge people. Externally, we see he was embracing British culture, he was writing mundane books, and so forth, and so many things he was doing, but not at all influenced by, means he was not at all, I would say that he was not influenced by, though he was involved, but it is not that his bhakti got influenced. So that is how, let us discuss now about the contribution of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There was a man called as Shishrir Kumar Ghosh. He was chief editor of Amrit Bazar Patrika. And he made such a brilliant book. And that was very popular those days. Like we have Times Magazine and so many magazines right now, which is very, very popular. So in during those times, in 80s, 1850 or so, that book called as Bazar Patrika was very popular. And the chief editor of that whole book or the magazine was Sri Kumar Ghosh. And he made, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his English was just fabulous. And he would give him to edit those magazines. And seeing Bhaktivinoda Thakur, seeing his erudition, seeing his dedication, seeing his sincerity, seeing his devotion, he said, I haven't seen six Goswamis. Of course, you must be knowing about six Goswamis. You know about six Goswamis? I hope you'll be knowing six Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, all six Goswamis of Vrindavan. So he said that I don't know about six Goswamis, but this sixth, but I definitely seeing your work, you looks like you are going to be seventh Goswami. And that's how the name of the book, which has his autobiography, is known as Seventh Goswami. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was born to Anand Mohini on 2nd of September 19. I think I'll just come back to the date soon, but in somewhere in 19, sorry, 18th, probably. I'll just come back with the date. But he was born on 2nd September. Today is 9th September or 5th September. So he was born 2nd September in 18th century. So that was, I think. He was born maybe in just a while. I just
1838.
1838. Okay, so he was born in 1838, 2nd September, right? 2nd September is born on 1838, 2nd September, and then uh, he was born to he was born in a very rich family. Very rich family. We could understand that by because he was born in a very because we can understand the pet his brothers pet animal was what, all their brothers pet animal was there were I think 4 or 5 brothers, and they all had one elephant with them as a pet. And you understand how much money it takes to rear and or probably mm, take care of an elephant. It's a lot of money is involved, and that was riches, that was opulence, that was a royalty which they had, which they enjoyed. So when problem was that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life, though he lived a very opulent life initially, later on his life wasn't like that. Very soon, he had to live a life of poverty. So that is why we see that his life was because he faced a lot of problem at professional front, at the health front, at the societal front sometimes. And we feel when we face a lot of problem at professional front, at the health front, at the different phases of life, what happens? We become morose. We give up sometimes in life. We don't we the life doesn't looks to be very enthusiastic. We just give up on things. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur did not. He was because why? Because he has sincerity. Why? Because he had dedication. He has sincerity for Supreme Lord. He has dedication for Supreme Lord. And because of which, this sincerity and dedication, he did not left whatever he followed. So these two qualities, sincerity and dedication, is required in any field, whether you are in the field of academics, whether you are in the field of professionalism, any field. These two qualities has to be ingrained within us: sincerity and dedication. When we have sincere dedication, whatever comes, we're able to overcome that. And that is why he could write 150 books in English and Marathi. Total, not in English and Bengali. That was the maybe more than that. And that is the example of sincerity and perseverance. Amazing efforts at age of 8. So initially he was very opulent. Initially he had so much of wealth. But at age when as he reached the age of 8, his brothers, Kali, Prasanna, and other brothers, they died. And the same year, his father died at the age of 8. And that deaths of so many family members made him contemplative. You see, when a child loses their parent early in the, at a very early age, they lost the parents. He lost his father. And because he lost his father, he asked, he was asking, yeah, a kind of introspection, a kind of contemplation developed within his heart. And he started asking, who is God? Is there God? Or when he did not say who's God, but he was started searching of something higher. Something's controlling us. Why is this happening? Why wrong things are happening in my life? So that is why he started searching for God. And in the meantime, when he was doing all this, he started learning about Christianity and also was searching, experimenting with other religion. At age of 12, he gets married. And just after a few months of getting married, he had a very bad dysentery, blood coming out dysentery he had, and he had skin diseases. Even very, very badly was suffering. So after suffering from dysentery, he was having skin diseases, and then local doctors who couldn't do much. Finally, one fakir. Now, one fakir came. Understand fakir? What is fakir? Fakir are beggars, we say. So those days, fakirs are also they know some mantras through which they treat the patients. So this fakir came and he was curing Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he was getting cured also by his treatment. And this fakir, he made two predictions. He said, your whole Ulagram, that was the place he was staying, this Ulagram will be hit by cholera. And in this, when it will be hit by cholera, everything would be destroyed. Everything would be destroyed here. And but and then he said one thing more that don't worry, you will not be destroyed, but in future you will become a very great Vaishnavacharya. So that time it was very unfathomable for him that how do I become? the great acharya because doesn't looks like I'm hardly into more bhakti kind of thing. But 1856, of course, he was born in a Brahmin family. He had that culture, but there was no sign which he looked within himself that he would become a great acharya later on. Now, in 1856, in 1838, we said he was born. So 1856, at age of 18, he joined University of Calcutta, and his professor name was Ishwar Vidya Chandrasekhar. He became also the member of English club and started regularly participating because he was amazing in his English to the degree that he wrote a very amazing magnum opus, King Porus and Alexander, a great the story of we have Alexander and Porus famous story. So he wrote 30 volumes on that. 30, sorry, 20, some good number of volumes, if not 30, but a good number of volumes of for this book, which was based on the story of Alexander and Porus. And then also he wrote 25 volumes of Vikram and Betar, which is very much prevalent, which is much appreciated into by the children today. I think today also the people read this book. So one Britishers, when he was writing so many books, was reading so many books, were doing so many of literacy, one of the Britishers, they asked in the club which he had joined, one of the Britishers asked him, you are reading so much, you're acquiring so much of knowledge, you're writing so much. What is the purpose of your writing? What is the purpose of reading? What is the purpose of doing so much of literary work? And then when he asked this, became contemplative. And he was thinking, yes, why I'm doing so much? I have to think about it. So that's what's happening. In 1857, 1857 was a revolutionary, it's historical, it was a very historical moment, oh, sorry, historical year for India because 1857, a revolution had started in India against the Britishers. And at that time, he became close with Satyendranath and Ravindranath. So Satyendranath Tagore and Ravindranath Tagore, he came close with them. He started discussing with them. So he was very, very close to this family, Tagore family. Is in fact, but again, he was so influential that even they would also consider him. After finishing his school, his learning, after that, he got a first job as a teacher of grade two. Grade two, understand? So he was doing, he became a teacher of grade two and he was teaching with just 19 rupees as salary. You know what comes in 19 rupees? Not a Britannia biscuit would also not come these days, looks like. But that was 1857. Understand, 19 rupees was quite a good amount in a sense. Not a good amount in the sense that you can live peacefully for your 1 month nicely. So that is, but then he could not stay for much time. Then he got a job in a sugar factory. And in sugar factory, one day, somehow or other, when he was, he became a cashier, accountant in the sugar factory. What happened? One person came, one merchant came, and he gave some extra money to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which he very humbly and honestly returned. When the owner of the company, owner of this whole factory, he saw that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is doing this, he became very angry. And he said, see, if you are doing this here, that means you're not meant for this place. As someone is giving extra money to you and you're returning him. What is this? Looks like you are having a lot of Brahminical tendency. Better you go and teach. Becoming a teacher would be good for you. So better go and teach. So that's how he could not continue that job also for much time. Now in 1858, his maternal grandfather, Raja Vallabhadatta, maternal grandfather means his mother's father, Raja Vallabh Datta called him, telling that I'm leaving soon, so you come. And this Raja Vallabh Datta, he had a kind of idiosyncrasy, we can say, or probably some kind of habit that throughout the day he would fast. And at 12 o'clock in the midnight, he would eat kachoris. And in the kachoris, he put a lot of mirchi. And putting a lot of mirchi, he would eat those kachoris. And then, but he was a very powerful person. He would make predictions, and all those predictions would come true. But at the same time, he was a great devotee of Jagannath. Powerful personality, amazing personality. Bhaktivinoda Thakur came and he saw, oh, he's in good condition. He said, hey, you told me you're going to leave in 3 days. He said, don't worry, I'll be leaving in 3 days. And it actually happened also. Raja Vallabh, after 3 days, he was about to leave. So he just went into trance. And just before leaving, going to trance, he called him and said, you see, I'm telling you two important things. He said that, your life would be unstable till 27, but after 27, you will get a very good, stable career. And also, that your life will become settled, something like that, he said. But important thing, what he told was that till 27, you will have a lot of problem. Your life won't be very stable. But 27, your life becomes settled. Well, that happened. He passed away. And 1859, he got a job as a teacher in Cuttack, and his salary now became from 19 became 21. In 1860, sorry, not 1960, 1860, he went to Bhadrak. There he became a headmaster, and his salary was 45 rupees. That was his salary. He published a mathematics. Then he in that year itself, 1960, he published also two books. And one was called Mathematics of Orissa, and then one was called as Temple of Orissa. So likewise, days were going on. And in 1861, the year comes 1861, when his first wife left the body. And that time he had, no, still let's look at that, his situation. His father left when he was just 8, his brothers left when he was just 8. He suffered badly through so many health problems he had. And now, when he was just probably just entered into his 20s, his first wife left. And he had a 7-month-old child. And that is why he had to get married soon. So he got married soon and he's got his other wife. And then now he got his seventh job as a tax collector because now he had again a wife, he had child, he got a good job. So he got a seventh job as a tax collector and a clerk near nearby somewhere in Cuttack. So that went on, and he was very sincere doing that. And because of which, seeing his sincerity, some of the government officers they got impressed by him. And in 1864, they received a letter from the government. So means he received a letter from the government in 1864, and they had given him three opportunities. That letter was mentioning that we have three jobs for you: one as clerk, one as in charge of a store, and one was as clerk, one was in charge of a store, and other was as a district magistrate. And you can guess what he chose. He chose to be a district magistrate. And that what happened at 27. He was at exact that year was 27. What was predicted by whom? By his maternal grandfather. So that's how he became district magistrate. At 1868, the first time he got Association of Devotees. And as he gets Association of Devotees, start reading Srimad Bhagavatam with full vigor. And that's how he wrote a book called as Sachinanand Vidya Alankar. That was his first book. And he had written the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now comes the year 1869. 1869, he gave an amazing Bhagavatam class at one place, and it was related to some theology, which was converted into book, and that was it was recognized that he is not only a writer, but he was a very proficient, not as a proficient writer also, but he's also a very eloquent speaker, and that whole work, or probably that he gave a it was like extempore. It was not a prepared class. Everyone was thrilled, and he had written how Vyasdev disseminates seed from the cold region of Badrik ashram. But it was extempore class. I mean, that was related to Srimad Bhagavatam. So it was just extempore class, but it was amazing. So that was a time when everyone recognized him as a very eloquent speaker also. So he was known as eloquent speaker, proficient writer. Both was there in one personality. 1871, he became magistrate in Champaran. Interestingly, this place in Champaran, people, there are some dacoits. They had a very amazing way to loot people. No, one of the ways was, how many of you believe in ghosts here, by the way? Do you believe in ghosts? Brahma Daitya. How many of you know about ghosts here? So, yeah, there's kind of personality. They are subtle bodies. They are the living entities in subtle body. You can see them sometimes not. So there is something called as Brahma Daitya. And this Brahma Daitya was controlled by robbers. So these robbers, what they would do is that they will go and rob a village. They will go and rob a village, or probably some people in village, and they would tell these villagers that not to tell anything to the police. If they would tell someone, if by chance would complain to police, they would release this Brahma Daitya, this ghost, and this ghost would go and trouble all the personalities in the village. So that's how this Brahma ghost was so like that. So this is how they would be very very. That's how they would deal with this ghost. But when Bhaktivinoda Thakur came, what he did was he went to that tree where this Brahma ghost would reside, and he just recited Srimad Bhagavatam. And when he recited Srimad Bhagavatam, that ghost also went out, and this all the dacoits were caught. So that was how intelligent Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was. And likewise, he had controlled so much. We're already at nine. How much more can we continue?
प्रभु जी इट्स ओके कितना भी देर चलेगा नो प्रॉब्लम
Ah, okay. We'll we'll just yeah, no problem. You also have to go. I'll just take some time. So now in 1971, he came to Puri as district magistrate. Well, because in Puri there were a lot of wrong things happening. Somewhere in Bengal at that time, local British authority. mm, of course, he was such an amazing officer that people, Britishers in Bengal also wanted him to become magistrate. But then he was transferred to Puri because in Puri conditions were not good, because there are many people those they were claiming themselves to be God, and they were behaving on name of God. They were having illicit relationship with women. They were having a lot of they were claiming themselves to God, and then they would have illicit relationships, and then they would do so many wrong things to people. That is why, and there were a lot of complaints coming by many people that okay, these people are many people were complaining. But women were naturally getting attracted by this personalities, wrong or probably pseudo incarnated people, because they would allege themselves that we are Vishnus, and they would just be just they were just tantrics, and these tantrics on name of tantrism, they were deceiving people. But people in general couldn't understand this. They were not able to understand this. Now, there was one person, his name was Bhishak Sen. And this Bhishak Sen, he would claim himself to be Vishnu. And he would say that actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Vishnu, all of them are my expansions. I am Vishnu. I was lying down at Sheet Sagar. Now I have come to deliver people from this material world. One of the officers, understanding this, one of the officers' name was Revan Shah. He called Bhaktivinoda Thakur and he gave the responsibility of this Bhishak Sen, who was a local god who would entice women and have an illicit relationship with women, to deride, somehow or other stop him. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur went to this place and then he wanted to arrest Bishop Sen. And as he was they as he told his police guards to go and arrest Bishop Sen started shouting, "Come on, don't ever think to tie me up. Don't ever think to catch me up. Because I'm Vishnu. And your Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is my part and parcel." And you can talk about all demigods, all the gods which are you can see, which you worship, are my parts and parcel. And if you even touch me, I will destroy you. Don't even try to come near me. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was completely fearless and he told his police guards, go and catch this man. So as police guards, they went to catch them. The spark from his hairs started coming out. And as sparks of the hairs were coming out, the policemen became very scared. They were not able because they have never seen. They had caught so many dacoits and so many gangsters, but they haven't seen people, the sparks coming out from the body of people or some dacoit. So it was very difficult. They were a little scared. But Bishak Sen means Bhaktivinoda Thakur made full effort and tied Bishak Sen and brought him to the jail. But this Bishak Sen was so stringent. He was fasting till 21 days. In the jail also he was fasting. And he was telling Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I will destroy you, I will destroy you. And for 20 days in the jail, he was fasted. On the day of judgment, Bhaktivinoda Thakur got a cardiac arrest. And the wife, not only Bhaktivinoda Thakur got cardiac arrest, but other members of the family, they also fell sick. And wife was pleading, come on, leave him. We'll protect your family, protect yourself. Please don't. Till that child was, the wife was tolerating, the child was getting sick. But now when Bhaktivinoda Thakur got a cardiac arrest, she couldn't. So she was pleading to the husband, please leave this man. We don't have to do anything with him. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, no, we would, I have to protect the Vaishnav society. I'm the protector of Vaishnav society, and that is why we cannot do that. So that is how Bhaktivinoda Thakur did not leave it. And it so happened that the case was won by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This person was sent to jail. One of the doctors of Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that these tantrics, they have their powers in their head. Why don't you shave him? At the night, the same night, he was shaved, and within morning he left his body, or within one day he left his body, because all the powers of tantric mostly they keep in their head. And that is why without fasting for 21 days he could just live. But now, because all his powers were gone, he just died in the jail. So that is how Bhaktivinoda Thakur had to deal with so many. And there were so many pseudo incarnation like that. In one village, someone was alleging themselves to be I'm Balram. Someone was telling that I'm Jagannath. And there was one Falgu Baba, same story, very similar story as Vishik Sen. He was also alleging himself that he is Mahavishnu, and he had to do Ras Leela. So that is why many of the rich family women in the rich family, they would also go and approach him for their, or they had to send them to him. And a lot of complaints were coming. And that's how, again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur dealt with this Falgua Baba in same way. But he did not, he just destroyed him through his chant. He was a pure tantric. So he just read Srimad Bhagavatam, and this tantric man, this Falgu Baba, he was destroyed. So that's how he could deal with him also. Sorry. That's how he would go. So in 1872, he had again, then time came out 1872, he again delved himself in Srimad Bhagavatam. In 1874, uh, he again came to Puri. So in Puri, of 1872, he took a kind of sabbatical where he would say 2 years he had to study. So therefore, he got a tutor, Gopinath Pandit, and then he read Srimad Bhagavatam commentaries, and then such sandarbhas. He completed all that in 1 year, studied scrutinizingly. That year came 1874, where a new case came into his light, into his account, and that was king's case. Now, this king of Puri, what he was doing is that he was doing some conspiracy. He was mishandling Jagannath Temple's funds, because Jagannath Temple fund is taken care by royal family. So he was trying to mishandle that to a degree that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was so strong that he sent a notice to king that you have to stop, otherwise you will be punished. And when he got this notice, this king became very ferocious. He became very angry at Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He decided to kill him. But he cannot kill him directly because he is one of the magistrates. He cannot do that. What he did was he took to tantric rites. The tantric rites are very, very popular. Now also it is, but those days it was very normal to do tantric rites. So he started performing tantric rites. But on the final day of this tantric rites, when he poured the final oblations, there is a yajna and you keep doing oblations. When he poured the final oblations, instead of Bhakti Vinod dying, his son himself died. That because of the power of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In 1874 was also embarked a special year because same year another Acharya, that is Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, was born. He's a son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And likewise, the year came 1880, where he started Sajjan Toshani, harmonist, Vaishnav, Kalyan Kalpataru, and so many books like that. Especially Kalyan Kalpataru, when he wrote this Kalyan Kalpataru was a very special book because it sent three messages. One was Updesh, Upalabdhi, and Uchavas. Updesh means that he had advised, this book advises how people who are struggling with senses, who are struggling with different anarthas, how should they deal? Upalabdhi is how do we attain pure devotional service? And Uchavas means how do we experience pure devotional service? This Kalyan Kalpataru was combination of all that. Then came year 1881 when he got formally initiated from Vipin Bihari Goswami, and that same year he met Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, whom he got very much impressed with, and he accepted him as his Siksha Guru. Vipin Bihari Goswami was his Diksha Guru, and Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was his Siksha Guru. Then came 1884, and in 1884 he had not transcribed. What do you say that? Proofread the book of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, I think. Yeah. So that he was a very famous poet who wrote Janaganaman. So Janaganaman was written by him. And look at the caliber of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was such an erudite scholar that Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, he chose him to proofread his book, Krishna Charitra. And when this book was, Krishna Charitra, was sent to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, 90% of the book was corrected. It was, I mean, rephrased because he had given so many misinterpretation. So that is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur had to again rewrite that book almost 90%. Though this book was written on the name or printed on the name of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, but the fact was that that whole book was actually written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So that was 1884. Then came the 1886, and in 1886 he wrote his own book, and that was commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So this commentary on Bhagavad Gita, he created his probably, and he created his own printing press. In his own printing press, he had printed so is many books whom he had taught to print, started printing that also. He wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita, which was forwarded by this Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, and that was been accepted by so many people because of his forward also. That also made a difference. In 1887, he was placed placed in a place called as Rampur, and he had mentioned his mission was to find the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was successful in that also. So likewise, in 1887, it so happened. In 1891, he started making 2 years. He took again a leave from his job. He started forming Namhatas. Namhatas is the place where people would congregate in preaching. 500 Namhatas is made. Every Namhata would actually had a strength of at least 2,000 people. So likewise, so much of preaching he did. March 1895, he established a temple in Yogapit for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in 1896, his book, one of his book went to West, and that was the starting of Western preaching. In 1901, he took entire Bhagavatam. He already had read Bhagavatam now, but he divided Bhagavatam into three forms. One was Sambandh, Abhidaya, and Prayojan. Sambandh and Abhidaya and Prayojan means understanding who is Krishna, what is the relationship with Krishna, and how do we get Krishna. He divided this whole Bhagavatam in a very Bhagavatam is very complex. What he did was with the three themes of Sambandh Abhidaya. Sambandh means connection with Krishna. Abhidaya means process. How do we attain Krishna? And Prayojan means goal, Krishna himself. So likewise, he read Bhagavatam so nicely and he divided the whole Bhagavatam in these three themes. That was in 1901. And 1908, what he did was, mm, again, so 1908 went and 1910, he had he lived by, there was a time he met Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And 1914, he departed from this world on June 23rd. He disappeared from this world. That was 1914. So this is how the life sketch of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In short, we can say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur lived his life for devotional service. 1849, born on September 2, born in Ulagram, and then in 1849, age of at age, of course, at age of 8, his father passes away. And 1850 to 1855, he lives with his uncle, where he reads a lot of books and other things. 1856, at age of 18, gets married, and then marries second wife, name was Bhagwati Devi. What he got married in 1859. 1860 to 63, he gains reputation as a brilliant teacher and scholar. Then 1868, he was posted as district magistrate in Jagannath Puri, where he gets chances, which we discussed, so many things he did. And 1869 to 1870, he returns to Bengal, continues studying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu movement. 1871, he writes, he starts writing Vedanta Sutra commentaries. 1874 to 75 becomes absorbed in serious bhajan, and 1875 to 1876 he that we discussed about the ghost encounter in Dinjapur. This was a place where it happened. 1879, he publishes a book called as Krishna Samhita. 1880 to 1881, he publishes Chaitanya Shikshamrita. 1881, he established Vishnupriya Printing Press. 1885, he launches Sajjantoshni. 1886, he initiates Namhata. 1890, then his greatest contribution to establish the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 1892, he publishes Sharnagati, a devotional book. And 1893, also he wrote many of these scriptures also, in other books like Tattva Vivek and other books. 1896, again he keeps on doing writing more and more. And 1898 builds his residence, Swanand Sukhad Kunj in Godruvdip. Likewise, his life was, and 1910 to 1913 lives in seclusion, absorbed in kirtan, writing bhajan, and deep mood of detachment. 1914, at finally June 23, 1914, he leaves this mortal world. So that is life of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in short, right? So this is how today is the appearance day of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We should pray to get the sincerity, to get the devotion, like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining. So we'll end over here. Sidhru, I hope we were able to serve you. Thank you so much.
Very detailed.
I,
Ah,
I mean, Sid Prabhu was asking me from a long time, and I was feeling so bad. Something would always happen. And today I thought, okay, no, I should do serve Sid Prabhu now. Prabhu, you come to temple sometimes. I haven't seen you in a temple. Where do you stay?
I stay in Thane.
Thane you stay, okay. And what about Omkar Prabhu? Where do you stay? Thane. All of you stay in Thane, looks like. No, other places also. Okay, great. So much. We'll meet personally, or we'll like to meet you all personally, maybe sometime. Whenever you come to Chopati Temple, let me know. Sid Prabhu, you have my number also. You're also on that group, Gita group also, Sid Prabhu, right? So you can just feel to call me whenever you come to Chopati Temple, or whenever you're coming to temple, let me know. We'll arrange something for you, right? Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare
We'll go. Hare Krishna.